Tonight we feature our fourth PAC-U Gaming Conference match against the University of Southern California as a part of the CLOL. Our esports program seeks to build and foster community, open doors to the vast careers opportunities in the field of gaming, and promote the virtues of healthy competition. Through esports, we are able to communicate with one another, forming and developing digital communities so necessary in the challenging times we are facing. We hope you enjoy being a part of our community, and we invite you to get more involved. Follow us here or on our UW Esports Discord server, as well as on our social channels at U of W Esports. Now to introduce ourselves, I'm Braden, aka Sinthe, and I'm a freshman at the University of Washington, and I'll be one of your casters for today.
And I'm Ryan Back. I'm a second year at the University of Washington, and I'll be your other caster for the evening.
All right, and we got our game here. Unfortunately, we don't have champion select today, so the first thing that we're going to go over here is what we have chosen here. The first thing that I absolutely love, and just because I love it so much, I have to go out and say it before anything else is said. And that's that I see that we have Vigar in this game right now. Now, he just got a buff where he's getting 3 ability power from Mega Minions and large monsters now instead of 2. And it may not seem like a huge buff, but you can aim to have like 8 to 10 stacks per minute on Vigar, and assuming the game is like roughly half an hour long, about the average game length, then that can really add up. Like what that can get you is like another 60, another 80 ability power worth of ability power just from the passive in killing the large minions and monsters, which is a lot of gold. So I like seeing that. I love it. Interesting to see how that's going to work.
Yeah, every AP counts, right? Every instance of AP counts. So definitely an interesting pick to see. And of course, sitting across from it too, the Azir. Bird of Sand really living up to his name with that Azir pick. Should be exciting to watch.
And Azir has a lot of options with his runes as well, so it looks like he's going to be opting for the Comet this time around, and then the Electrocute on the Vigar. So I feel like Azir is most likely going to try and take advantage of some of these earlier levels where Vigar isn't as strong, and maybe even zone him off of some minions, because Azir does have that power in the early game. Speaking of power in the early game, look at that early trade there in the bot lane.
Karma just getting in the bush early, just being able to surprise the Aphelios with that empowered Q, just chunks him down. The Karma just does so much damage early game. You just see him land another one too. That's gotta be hard to deal with.
You see the Aphelios, they're popping his first potion down there. Yeah, and when you add the Spell Thief's hit on top of that, it may not seem like that, like much, but like 8 to 10 burn damage on top of it, like... Wait, okay, I don't play support. Is that still a thing?
I'm not quite sure actually. I don't believe
I feel like somebody told me that they removed the burn damage on Spell Thieves, so I may have completely whiffed that. But it has been a fat minute since I played support. So I'm not entirely sure about that.
Yeah, we'll definitely have
either
to
way, another thing that I did not know is that the Karma Q, the empowered Karma Q, it looked like it did pop the... I didn't quite catch if she followed up with an auto attack or if she landed a second ability, but she got 20 gold there from that ult, and not just the 10, so... again, the fact that that empowered Q hits twice, getting you twice as much gold on that Spell Thieves too, from a pretty reasonable range away.
Yeah, and we also do see the double enchanters coming out in the bot lane with the Lulu going up against the Karma. Should be interesting to see. We see the enchanter support with 2 hyper carries on the side of Southern California with the Jinx and the Azir, both being options for her to shield and just, you know, to just take over in those late game team fights. And then
the other thing that's important to note is that they do have the Gragas tank option for the front lines as well. So, and the Jarvan engaged too. So they have a lot to stand in front of the Jinx and the Azir hyper carries.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's just a lot of displacement as well, if you consider the Azir as well. The Azir ultimate, the Gragas ultimate, and the Jarvan just being able to create space with his ultimate as well. Should be interesting to see how they play out team fights in the later stages of the game.
And on the other side, University of Washington doesn't have that standard style of tank. They have the Drain tank in the form of Viego, and then they're going to have the Lulu ult on top of most likely the Aphelios in most cases, when he hopefully has like a red gun, white gun combo. But aside from that, they don't have the same level of frontline and level of engage that the other side has in the form of the Gragas and the Jarvan.
Yeah, definitely gonna have to play out these team fights a bit differently without that solid frontliner. And honestly, a bit of a hard time with the engage too. Having the Jace in the top lane, having the Veigar, having the Viego. Not really too many options to go in outside of that Viego just going in for a stun. Or
it is important to note that with the Vigar answer, it really will help a lot with the disengage aspect of things. We did note that they had a lot of engage on the other side in the Azir ult, in the Jarvan ult, in the Gragas ult. but they also have the Vigar Cage, which can really punish that engage sometimes. Because if you're looking to go in on that Aphelios and try and chunk him out early on with the Azir and the Jarvan ult combo, then you do have to still worry about that Vigar that could be shadowing behind him and those huge just killer of spells that come out with his increased ability power. So
yeah, definitely still a lot of Vic coming on the side of you though. If you do misstep against that team, you would take a lot of damage with those GSQs coming in, with the Viego being able to hit, and yeah, like you said, the Viego can do a lot of work in those later team fights.
Another thing I'd like to talk about and point out real quick is that Yunha is on Jace again. The last time that I was around and casting. Oh, real quick, we have a dive here. Jarvan was taking turret aggro, but he was able to get out with the flash.
The big guy is here.
So at first I was thinking that like he would be all right. Oh, real quick. Oh wow, very well done. Cage, no flash there. Actually, the Karma did have flash up and Zaza still dead. Azir also here dying with flash up. I'm not sure what exactly is going on here. Like, I feel like you could have had the opportunity in both cases to get to safety. At first, I thought that University of Washington may have been going for the Jarvan, which they knew did not have the flash up. And then two members on the other side died, both having flash up. So
yeah, just seems like a bit of a misplay coming out from Inferno and Birds of Sand. And they're gonna end up losing the Dragon off of it in the back end as well. Yeah, losing 2 kills, giving over 2 kills and a Dragon. Pretty brutal in the early stages of this game.
Especially when before that play had happened, the Vigar was down about 11, 12 CS there in mid. And then if you look at it now, not only did he get both of those kills, which by the way is 10 extra ability power. It's like, and that's the equivalency of about 220 gold. So not only is he getting about 220 extra gold from ability power worth of his passive stacks, he's also getting the 300 gold from his second kill and the 400 gold from first blood, which means that he just got an intake of 1,000 gold there, and now he's sitting on his lost chapter and his tier and an extra ruby crystal.
Yeah, doing a lot of work to get that Vigar ahead. Certainly is gonna be a problem for Southern California to deal with. Now,
right before that fight broke out, I was going to talk about that Jace up there in the top lane. It seemed like he had some pretty rough matchups the last time around that I was casting, but he also still managed to play it out incredibly well. It was a lot of fun to watch him and his sneaky plays in the backline. He's really great at the champion. It'll be really interesting to see what he can do here in terms of getting on top of the Jinx and maybe even eliminating the Karma from the fight early on so they don't have their enchanter for them. So it's going to be a lot of fun watching him play that champion again. Oh, real quick, we have a lot of action in the bottom lane. Jinx again has flash up, but I think at that point when you realize that you don't have anybody there to support you and there are 3 people there, you're going to die. So I do respect the decision in not choosing to use flash there. The cleanse was worth a shot. If you can get them to take tower aggro for long enough, then chances are you may be able to get a kill there. But ultimately, just well played there from University of Washington, recognizing the timing on the recall from Inferno and punishing it.
yeah, absolutely. Saving grace is that the Lulu was the one to pick it up. The Aphelios ult there did end up whiffing, coming out a bit too late. And yeah, so yeah, that's something, right? At least Aphelios was the one to get the kill. He is sitting on 2 assists, no kills yet. Like you said, the Vega got both of the kills in their earlier bot lane fight that broke out. And yeah, we just return to this game state where it kind of is looking like UW is making these proactive plays down bot, and Southern California is just not quite able to answer quite yet. Top lane looks to be going pretty even, and there's a trade happening mid, but nothing quite is gonna happen. Meanwhile,
this could be dangerous here. It would be interesting to see. I thought that the Azir would go for a play there on the Vigar. Not only does the Vigar have 150 gold bounty on him, but I feel like he probably could have picked up that kill with the health threshold that he's at. Excellent play down here too. Oh, wait, hold off on that. On that note, the Jarvan ult comes down, traps the Aphelios. Lulu is currently slowed. Just barely manages to get out. And the Viego cleaning up. There's the kill that I was talking about in mid with 150 extra gold on that. The Viego collapsing it on Inferno. The root should come out, and red buff ticking down even a little bit more. Movement speed bonus from the fog. And the stun does not quite connect, and he's going to take enough tower aggro to die, but does take one with him there. On the other side, we did see in mid that Azir got not only a kill, but also the 150 gold shutdown bounty. I do think that may have been a little bit of an oversight on Pasha's part, because like I mentioned before, I've actually played a lot of Azir and I played a lot of Veigar. I really do think that at that point you have to recognize Azir's kill potential there. It's a lot harder to land Veigar's abilities on Azir than it is to land Azir's abilities on Veigar in that case. And when you're at that level of health, you need to just take your back, teleport back in, and keep it going. But unfortunately, just a little bit of an oversight, stayed for a little bit too long. And Bird of Sand was able to punish him for that.
Yeah, and a good play by Bird of Sand to punish the overstep. We see now that Dragon is coming up, we see some assist pings coming down, probably to try and get some vision. And Oshawott
is really huge, and the Jinx ult is currently on cooldown, but just the fact that Oshawott is as low as he is means that Southern California should have the inside edge on this Dragon play here. It's going to be able to remove a lot of vision. We do have the Veigar here though, with Everfrost completed. I was looking for the Azir, but he's under all those pings. He is there. I do see him now.
Both top laners also do have TP for a fight, but they do not have Unleashed TP yet, so can't really make their way here unless they choose to use it now on the turrets.
And I think that's going to go over to them. As soon as you see that there are 3 Azir Sand Soldiers there, there's not really much you can do to step up against that, especially when he does already have Ludens completed. He's going to get that extra little bit of Magic Pen, and so it's really hard to step into that. Also had his ult up, too, so if you do try to step into that, then you could also be 3-man scooped back towards the Dragon Pit and into certain death. So that Dragon is, well, excellently played around, is going to go over to Southern California.
Yeah, Oshawott missing the Gravitum ultimate there, trying to get a play onto the Southern California bot lane, but unfortunately it just barely whiffs, no play to be had. And yeah, now the Dragons are evened up. Both top laners just sitting and farming in the top lane. Both still have teleport available, still not unleashed for another 30 seconds about.
I also do like the decision of Yunha to go with the Cole there as well. Understanding that he's up against the tank Gragas, he's not going to kill the Gragas. It is tank Gragas. And recognizing the fact that, hey, you know what, I'll just go for a Cole. I'll opt in for that 300-400 extra gold when it does pay off. It can mean a lot later on, so I like that decision a lot. And it'll just give him just a slight edge, just a little bit of a boost, an extra longsword. It's going to be really nice for him.
Yeah, absolutely smart decision by him, recognizing that it is most likely just going to be a bit of a farm fest up there. Meanwhile, we do see some key items coming online. If you take a look at both supports, we see that Lulu does have that Moonstone finished, which is a very important item. Cage lands on the Gragas, nothing to be had, just gonna give him a little love tap, get some more AP. Oh, she steps up when the field is has
on the Jinx. But the Chompers there are gonna keep Jinx safe. And we're already seeing these crit rockets start to do a lot of damage there. I'm not sure if that was just lucky or Jinx getting 4 crits in a row there. 300 damage on the crits right now with the rockets and the extra range. That's already quite a lot.
Absolutely. And the Jinx did have cleanse there as well, so wasn't really ever in any danger. If she really needed to, she could have cleansed and most likely made her way out. But meanwhile,
we got the ult on the Jace here. Both of them knocking each other back, and one direction or the other. The Comet is going to be able to secure that kill right there. And just before we were doing our real quick, I'm going to hold off on that note. The flash misses from Mimich. Still going to get the kill. The Lulu ult's going to come off on him. Is he going to have enough draining to stay alive? No, he's not going to be. With the Ignite on him, that anti-heal is going to make sure that he does not live. Gale Force from Oshawott to get out. The W does land from Jinx, and that's going to be 2 kills for the Jinx, 1 for the Azir, and it looked like 1 for the Karma as well.
You were just talking about the power that this Jinx had with those rockets already hurting. Maybe those 4 crits were lucky, but not much luck needed for that play there. Just getting the resets, just taking over that fight, just doing outputting so much damage. Helios had good guns there, but just wasn't able to really step up. A good catalysm coming out from the Jarvan as well to lock in the Lulu and the Viego. Just good play by Southern California there to just win that fight, get a quick 3 for nothing.
I just realized here, I said that there was an Ignite down on the Viego, but none of them have Ignite. So I could have sworn that I saw Ignite. Obviously, I was seeing something else. Maybe it was Red Buff Burn instead. So I do apologize for that one, but I completely whiffed that.
Yeah, I mean it happens, right?
Yeah, it does happen. I'm just gonna give myself the benefit of the doubt and say it was either Red Buff or Red Smite. I don't know.
Yeah, you saw something. You saw something. You didn't just imagine.
I swear,
We'll just leave it at that. We'll just leave it at that.
Yeah. On another note, we did also see Azir with his 2nd solo kill of the game on Yanha down there in the bot lane. That is the Jace versus Azir is typically not a very fun one for the Jace. I will say that. Later on in the game, Jace does have the potential to instantly one-shot the Azir, but the Azir just has so much of a range advantage earlier on, and also like 2 elements of disengage that really gives him just a little bit of an advantage there. And you saw there after the initial trade that the Jace took, he just tried his best to get out of the range of the Azir as fast as possible and just couldn't quite make it. That shows the power of the range that the Azir has in that particular matchup. Again, right here we see Southern California gearing up around Dragon. It looks like they're going to secure that 2nd one pretty easily. No contest there. Because look at all that vision there in the jungle of University of Washington as well. There's 1 pink for University of Washington and 1 normal ward. And then there are 2 normal wards and a pink for University of Southern California, excuse me. So they actually have more vision in their opponent's jungle. Just excellent setup for the dragon fight.
Yeah.
That didn't happen. Just for the dragon.
Good to hear it for a possible dragon fight, especially when the members you are walking into are the Azir and the Jarvan, who have just so much ability to just cover space and get an engage off with the shuffle and the flag and drag. Makes it really hard for teams to really want to walk into that.
And on the other side, you have the Vigar with his cage, which also makes it very hard to get into, and the Viego with his smoke, with his fog, that also makes it really hard to step up. So, in the same way, I feel like it's whoever can get to the objective first often is going to have that advantage in taking the objective.
Yeah, Fruito's making a play in the mid lane, getting that flash ult off to knock both under the tower to trade a kill before he goes down. And yeah, I think you bring up a really good point. This game is going to be a lot about making it to the objectives first, and of course setting up vision. That's really going to be a very important aspect of this game, and it's going to be interesting to see how both teams choose to play around that with the future dragons and the Baron spawning soon. Should be interesting. We've seen the Veigar actually just farming up quite nicely, staying away from fights, just kind of sitting in lanes and farming it up. He is up about 20 CS?
I'm a little curious as to whether the Vigar is going to turn that tier into a Seraph's, which I would not be surprised, because you do have now have that cooldown reduction rather than the previous extra ability power on Seraphs. I feel like it's going to be a death cap. He's going for the death cap before he upgrades the tier item, it looks like, with that second rod. That's really telling the story there. But back to what I was saying, I'm seeing a lot of mages right now go for the Thimble winner, particularly the Rise. I feel like with the Vygar specifically, the cooldown reduction would be great just because the cage is like a critical part of his kit, and getting that down as low as possible is extremely important. But I could be wrong. I mean, Everfrost does give a lot of extra health, and that would also give you extra health from Thimble Winner, make him a little bit more difficult to kill. Maybe go for a Void Staff after that. It'd be interesting to see what build path you choose, because I feel like there's a lot of options for mages right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of build paths, this Jarvan build is fairly new to me. I don't believe I've seen it. It looks like it's Gauntlet into the Titanic Hydra. I believe that's what he's building into next.
That's really interesting to me too, because I've seen Chem Tank a few times with the extra empowered auto attacks, and I've seen Sunfire a few times with the general like Immolate passive. But I don't think that I've ever seen a Jarvan player play for slow. Hold on. Immediately, no hesitation, flashes over the wall after the cage lands. Gets that early kill on Inferno. And now we may have a 5v4 setup around Baron here. We'll see. I don't think that University of Washington is going to try and force the fight around Baron. We'll see if they can maybe pull off some kind of bush tease around here. Southern California is a little bit spread out here, so...
Does look like they're just gonna choose to just retake control of the vision instead of over chasing into enemy jungle. The dragon
I like that decision. We do see that the dragon is also less than 1 minute left until that's up, so that could be potentially important as well. We see the Aphelios resetting, we see the Lulu resetting, we see the Gragas hovering down there, we see the Vygar resetting now from topside. Both sides are resetting here. But University of Washington did get their resets in first, so I feel like if they play this properly, they should be able to get that same inside edge, control the vision properly, and maybe even out the dragon counter.
And the Veigar has completed his death cap. And we just saw how much damage he did.
Power spike for this fight, too.
Absolutely.
We know that there's going to be a fight over this here. Because University of Washington doesn't want to give up the soul point to University of South California. I don't know why I keep saying Carolina.
It's close, it's close. Yeah.
And then just in case there's a little bit of dancing there, sometimes the Scuttle Crab can provide a little bit of extra help.
Does provide that good old movement speed, a lot of posturing happening now, but UW is starting up the drag.
This is where you want the cage down, right here.
Oh,
and the instant kill on the Karma, the Lulu ult on top of the Vygar as well, getting a lot of damage off right there. The Aphelios ult comes in and gets a huge Inferno off right there, hitting 3 members. The Jinx the only member left standing here. Flash coming through for Ashwat, the heal coming through for Ashwat.
And the Viego getting the resets, they were really important as well.
Important to know the item resets that you mentioned before. Because the Jace walked into that fight with 2 items as well, with the Mana Immune upgraded. The Vygar having that death cap, we saw no fear. Flash Q ulted Inferno to death instantly. That was huge. And then you had the Ashwat landing the 3-man ult with Infernum on the backside of the fight, which really helped clean that up. The Lulu ult on top of the Vygar to keep him alive, also critically important. The Viego having a lot of draining available in that fight in terms of lifesteal, just was able to clean that up.
Yeah, absolutely beautiful team fight. Beautiful team fighting by UW. Pascal knowing his damage, knowing when to get aggressive, knowing that he would be able to survive in that situation too, getting the Lulu ult on top of him and being able to flash out. Just perfectly executed by UW there. We saw the Viego getting his resets off, stealing the Gragas' body, getting another body slam to continue the fight. It was just really well fought.
And we do see that the Vygar is now going for the Void Staff, like I mentioned. This does not surprise me one bit. I think it's very reasonable. It's typically what you'll want to go for as soon as possible on Vygar, because you're kind of naturally stacking extra ability power while you're farming. It makes it more important to go and opt in for that extra magic pen, because you're being gold efficient with getting ability power through your passive anyway, so it just makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And on the other side, for Southern California, we see the Jinx now sitting on 3 items, which
Three
can be
items.
very scary.
With the IE out too, and the rapid fire cannon with the extra range. Now, if you get one early crit rocket on 2 or 3 members of University of Washington, that can really be a game changer. And hold on just for a minute. Here, the Gragas has a little bit of a flanking angle, but the ward spots it out. Ever comes down on the Jinx, and the Jinx, no time there. Cleanse was down, off cooldown. Yunha flashing forward to jump on top of the Azir. We're going to get another fight here up towards the top side. The Gragas is tanky enough. He should just be able to walk out of that. However, we have members of University of Washington collapsing on him from the river. A little bit of Karma poke down here on Yunha. Shock Blast is not quite going to land, or if it did, then it was mitigated by the shielding from the Karma. And now we have University of Washington starting up the ban.
I'm not sure if it did seem like Gragas attempted to TP to his. Hold on, there's another fight breaking out.
And the polymorph onto the Jarvan as soon as he jumps in is super huge. That saves the Vigar. And then we have the Viego turning into the Jarvan and jumping onto the enemy backline. Getting that Jarvan out of the picture early and giving that ability to dive the backline to the Viego with that flag and drag on top of the Viego ult really helped University of Washington clean up there once again. And all of a sudden we've seen this really huge swing. It'll be interesting to see what kind of item power spikes come through. The Void Staff completed for the Vigar. Almost have the I think that's a Soreldia's there on the Jace. It looks like maybe a GA or for the Viego coming through. Maybe not a GA. Death's Dance, that's correct. That's what I was looking for. Then we have an extra BF sword and crit cloak on the Aphelios here, almost very, very close to Infinity Edge. The Lulu completing the redemption off the end of that play as well. Just a lot of extra gold here on the side of University of Washington, the most important of which probably being that Void Staff on the Vigar there. And just an excellent job at the start of that fight. Oh, the Gragas flashes in on the Vigar. Pasco's in a little bit of trouble here. They are going to be able to clean him up. The Viego flashes forward, but is not able to pick up the soul. And it looks like University of Southern California here is cleaning up the slows. All sorts of slows there down on Lulu. Is going to result in 4 kills with Baron up too. That is a little bit of a yikes. Jarvan's going to tank this tower here as they clean that one up. However, we also have Yunha chasing, pushing down on that top side, all the way down on that inhib tower. It looks like it's going to be an inhib tower for inhib tower trade here. But the most important thing I'd say is that with University of Washington on respawn timers, hold that note for just a minute. There is a Zhonya's on. We have one Baron buff here. Yunha still has Baron, but he is going to die. He is going to get almost 3 kills before he does. And I was going to talk about how University of Southern California was going. Oh, and inside of the cage, that was just an ult right there. 70% of Jinx's health down from just the Vigar ult. No other damage on it. Jinx kiting that out excellently there, but not fully able to clean up. And with minions pushing in on the top side, I think that Dragon is safely going to go to University of Washington. However, it came at the consequence of both of their Nexus towers. Ultimately, I do still like that trade for University of Southern California. I really do think that having the double Nexus towers and the inhib down puts so much pressure in mid lane. And University of Washington is going to have to probably respond to that with using the Vigar. So the Vigar can clear those waves quickly. Also, the Vigar sold the tier. It's now sitting on a Kindle gem. It'll be interesting to see what that turns into. Do you have any guesses?
Not the Kindle gem is quite an interesting buy here. I can't really imagine what it's going into.
I'm trying to remember. There was a mage item that was just changed to put the Kindle gem into the pathing for it. It was 1 or 2 patches ago, and I'm trying to remember what it was. Oh, maybe was it Cosmic Drive? Maybe?
I don't believe so.
I don't think it is. It was just Demonic Embrace, perhaps?
I believe that's still Giant Spell.
No, you're right on that one too. We're gonna get a root off from the long range of Aphelios ult. The cage down. Vimage looks like he's going to go down, but he does not. He gets a Lulu ult on top of the healing from the Soul Steal, and he's going to keep going on. The Jace jumping on the Jinx, deletes him instantly. Gale Force in onto the root. The Zero excellent play to get out of that, but the auto attack was already in midair, and he's going to go down as well. I have reason to believe that that is probably going to be the end of the game with 38 seconds on Jinx, 42 seconds on Azir, 29 seconds on Gragas, and a lot of minions in top lane.
Yeah, that looks like it's gonna be game on the... We do get to see the Veigar finish the Kindle Gem into the Athima's chain, so I guess that answers that question.
That answers that question. I'm curious as to which champion he's going to put that on, because I feel like there were a couple different options. Like, I would assume the Azir, but it could have been the Jinx as well. But I mean, really interesting last buy there. I mean, I guess at the very least, it's 600 extra health, so that's huge in and of itself. So
yeah, it's also possible it's just one of the items he had enough gold to finish at the end of the game, so he just decided to buy in the TP in.
That's true as well. Oh, we're already in the second game. Wow, look at
oh, which is going fast. I like it, I guess.
I like it. Not yet? Not yet? Okay, it's paused for now. Okay, we're going to get a couple minutes to talk about that last one before we move into this next one.
Alright, that is fair. That is fair.
So, all of that, I feel like the Veigar was the center point of a lot of their plays there that they were able to make. They were falling behind early on, but that double kill bot lane was really huge and kind of stepping up that game and getting them back into the game very quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. And even some of the catches in the later stages of the game, you see how like pivotal that cage was, just forcing members, just separating the team fights and just catching members out. It was just such an important ability, and I think we've always known how like good of an ability that Veigar E is, and we just got the chance to see it highlighted this game.
And not only did we get the Veigar E down to stop some of the engage on the side of University of Southern California, but on top of that, when they did engage, almost every single time we saw the Lulu polymorph come down on whoever it was that took that first engage, which reduced their combat ability to quite literally nothing. So not only did you have them trapped inside of a cage that they pretty much have to flash out of, or else they're going to die, but they also can't flash because they're polymorph. And I feel like they just did a really good job of coordinating that. And that really was just lethal. It was a very good way to deal with the heavy engage that University of Southern California had.
Yeah, and speaking of that engage, we saw some great engages from the side of Southern California too, even resulting in Southern California being able to get those two Nexus turrets. And it kind of looked like they were having some really good fights, but unfortunately they weren't able to close the game out, and UW was able to bounce back.
Particularly the one that I want to note there at the very end was that Gragas ult engage. He got the body slam initially with the flash, and then the Aphelios was right next to the sidewall there. And so you had the Gragas ult that hit him and CC'd him, but it didn't toss him away from damage. With the Gragas ult, a lot of the times it's very difficult when you're doing one of those short-range Gragas ults, is you don't want to like toss the enemy away from your damage dealers. And the Gragas was able to successfully layer that CC in such a way that let them take those 4 kills at the end there. Absolutely. And let them push all the way to the Nexus, only to be down by the heroics of Yanha on Jace, getting almost 3 kills in a 1v4.
Yeah, just absolutely like beautifully played by him at the end there to save the game. Should be interesting to see how both teams choose to adapt in the next game, what champions they choose to pick, what champions, and how they just play what the new game plan is for Southern California coming into the next game. See how they deal with UW going down 0-1.
And with that, let's get into the next game. And look at that, we have the Veigar again. And the thing that I like about this one here too is that you may not have the Lulu for the polymorphs inside of the cage, but you do have the Leona, which is quite literally a hard CC bot. And oh, this could be interesting. We have both sides pinging towards bot lane with all 5 members. Let's see if something exciting is going to happen here at level 1.
Welcome to Summoner's Rift.
No. Both supports are...
They're
Don't
not
have
using
the
brushes or
strongest
anything,
level
so
ones.
I think they'll just see each other and then walk away. So just a party
Yeah.
down here. I wonder if they typed something in all chat or something before this, or
Yeah, nothing like a hook to really start off or catch an opponent. We have the Alistar and the Leona who don't really have the easiest time getting in there level 1, or even if they did, they don't really want to be in there level 1. So yeah, we're not gonna really see much happen.
nobody with first strike, nobody with spell thieves, no gold granted, just a little bit of poke and a lot of recalls. That's all it was.
Yeah, just a quick hello, a quick goodbye, and yeah, we're just gonna start off just normally, I suppose. Yeah. And just to take another look at this draft, we see the Sylas coming in against the Alistar, which I really do like. Getting to steal that Alistar ult just gives you so much tankiness and just helps you dive onto the backline without fear of taking as much damage or even just being able to get out of 1cc. It's a really nice tool to have. So it'll be interesting to see how Yonha pilots these fights and what other ultimates he might be interested in taking as well. He has Jin and Graze available to him, which could potentially help him snipe down
Now
some kills.
down here is pretty important too, because whichever side hits level 2 first is going to have a pretty clear advantage in deciding the pace of the lane and how it's going to go. So we'll see like how they'll do in fighting over the second minion wave here. Because if you hit level 2 with the Alistar first, you're going to get a really nice engage on the Caitlyn. If you hit level 2 with the Leona first, then you're going to get the Leona CC into the Caitlyn trap, into the double headshot potentially. And it looks like we're going to see not that. Oh, and the headbutt backwards, but the Leona E was already in motion, and so it pushed her back to safety. In the end, it's flash down for Alistar, flash down for Leona. That does favor Alistar, although it looks like we got pings out on the Alistar flash, so they
Poppy's
are
also
aware
hitting
that he does have Hex Flash as well. I do favor that for the Alistar just because of the Hex Flash, and you're right, hold that note. That Leona is for sure dead. She does have no flash, so there's no getting out of that one, unfortunately. The Poppy W coming in clutch right there. Understanding, hey, I'll skip my wolves, hey, I'll skip my blue buff. Leona no flash. I know that I can come in from behind to get this kill. Just excellently done. Great situational awareness there. And that is going to pick up first blood. And even balloon to an early 1,000 gold lead there too at 3 minutes into the game.
Yeah, and one thing that was kind of interesting to me about that whole setup down in the bot lane was the Leona used her relic stack on the first wave, but it didn't really result in them getting an advantage or being able to push for level 2 faster. The Alistar having his relic stack for the second wave is kind of what I believe allowed them to hit level 2 first. Of course, Oshawott and both the Caitlyn and the Leona both did hit level 2 immediately after, so it wasn't the biggest of deal, but it did force the Leona, it did possibly force out the Leona flash and could have been a difference maker, but it is by very, very thin margins, of course. But yeah, Poppy getting down to the bot lane early, immediately punishing the Leona, the flashless Leona. And yeah, like you said,
coming in on top side here. We'll see if anything happens here. Bush was warded, so you should be able to get out of that safely. No concern there. You knew it was coming. And the other thing that's important to note is not only did that Poppy manage to get that kill down bot side, it went to the carry, to the AD carry, which is also important. And not only that, but the Jarvan wasn't able to find anything anywhere else on the map. You see that the CS, Poppy's actually ahead in CS, even after initially skipping wolves and buff, just to go down and get that kill.
A well-timed play. The Jarvan's not really able to find anything. He was in a little... Oh!
And hold that note, we do have a stun down here on the Jhin. Glacial Augment not going to be quite enough. The trap did miss from Oshawott, just a little bit shy of where the Jhin was standing. Otherwise, I feel like that could have potentially been a kill with the Leona having Ignite up and the Caitlyn having Flash up. However, Jin also did have cleanse, which I am just now noting, so probably would have been safe.
Dive happy bot.
Alistar taking a lot of tower aggro successfully, and that was a great dive.
Yeah,
I really
cleanly
do.
played.
I feel like the Alistar should have known to drop the tower aggro one tower shot sooner. I think that last death was unnecessary. However, all in all, it's still really punishing the bot lane from University of Washington and just putting them further and further behind. Now 3 kills on the Jin. Jin is one of those carries that is, though generally meant to be a utility carry, if he is given these kills, he can kill that Vygar with one auto. That Caitlyn with one auto. Okay, maybe more than one auto, but you know what I'm hinting at.
Yeah, of course.
And maybe not the Silas, especially since he's got Seeker's arm guard there in that matchup against Graves. I think a very wise decision. Trying to push his level advantage here, but Graves excellently dodging out on a lot of what he has to offer. Cage to save Pasco there. He's going to have to back and teleport back in. He should have enough for Lost Chapter, so that should be no issue. He's going to go for a couple more minions first.
And the Pasco not having a very fun time, it looks like, against the Karma mid. Just being forced to take some powered Qs to the face. He is down a decent amount of CS, about 12 at this point. He does have minions under his turret, so should close that a little bit. Not really, but he is going to get his back off now. Both mid laners do it, opt for the TP. So, but I believe both are going to be able to just walk back after their bye.
Jarvan is down here, but there are a lot of wards out, including a ward in the deepest lane brush. So I'd imagine that University of Southern California is going to be very aware of that. It looked like they were posing back before they even got vision on it. Just smart play on their part, understanding where the Jarvan was and making sure to play back there.
Both top players also finding a reset, and it's very interestingly, the Graves going for the Phage. I wonder what that's gonna be built into.
Yeah, no, your guess is as good as mine.
Yeah,
Let's make a list here real quick. What does Phage build into? What are we looking at for our options?
Gore Drink? It builds into Gore Drinker. It builds into Divine Sunderer. Not sure if either of those are the options. Does it build into Hole Breaker? It could be a Hole Breaker.
No, I don't think it does. I'm trying to think right now. Look, I play a lot of Alawi, you should know this. Yeah, it does. I believe it does.
That's the option that makes
Oh
them.
my gosh, look at that solo kill. I was not expecting that.
We were too busy thinking about his items.
That was insanely well done. Yeah, with a Phage and an Executioner's, I would not have expected that much damage to come through. Obviously, he knows his champ well enough. He's practiced this enough to understand, like, hey, I have enough damage to deal with this right now. Not only does he have a 20 CS lead, but he also now has a 1 kill lead and a turret plating, and he may gather a second one here. No, he's going to take the opportunity to take a recall instead, which I do support. He's going to be able to spend some of that gold that he just got and really press an advantage that he's building right here. And with the pickaxe pick up there, I am going to assume that it's probably going to be building into a Hole Breaker, because I do know that pickaxe is part of Hole Breaker.
I do like that buy from the Graves. Not really. I don't believe that the Silas is going to be able to match him very well in the side lane. Not sure how he's going to do in the Veigar. Into the Veigar might be a little bit harder, but I do believe that Graves can just possibly one-shot the Veigar if he does get close enough. So it should be
I really
interesting.
think that this is a smart buy too, quite honestly, because Graves does have enough damage. If you go for like the shield bow next, then you'll have all that drain tank potential on top of you're getting 45 extra armor and magic resist when you're alone in the side lanes at the later levels. It's really huge. Like, I could see how you could go for that shield bow and then maybe for lethality after that, and then you're going to have an excessive amount of damage. I guess you would go for the bloodthirster if you're going for the shield bow. But not only are you going to have that crit, but you're also going to have resistance. So I feel like that is really huge. Nice Poppy W there, having to minimize the damage that Jarvan could have done in terms of pick potential.
Yeah, I don't think. Oh, hold on.
That was Karma Flash. Oh my gosh, I did not think that he was within ult range there. The Poppy ult, smart there, I feel like, to not hit the Jarvan, but rather the two people behind the Jarvan. Jarvan had already used up his cooldowns. That was just instinctively, most Poppy players, I feel like right there, would instantly go for the goal ult on the Jarvan that is on top of the Karma, not the people that are behind the Jarvan who are not yet in attack range of the Karma. But just really smart play there to hit out the two people who were behind the Jarvan, understanding that Jarvan had already used all of his cooldowns, and made that a 1-for-0. Just very well done.
Yeah,
and Rift Herald picked up in that exchange too, as well, important to note.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't really think we got a chance to talk about how valuable this Poppy pick can be into the enemy team as well. Being able to stop the Leona, being able to stop the Jarvan, and being able to stop the Sylas as well. That's a lot of... There's a lot of targets for this Poppy W to stop.
Yeah, I mean, and particularly, it is the easiest answer into that Jarvan pick. We see it pretty frequently in terms of if anybody here watches pro play as well. It is the standard answer because it's so easy to time that. The flag and drag is really slow. The Leona E has a delay between when she lands it and when she goes, so again, really easy to stop. And all this control down the bot side, not only picking up a turret with the Rift Herald, but also going to pick up the second dragon here, which is going to start their dragon stacking with the 2-dragon lead. Hullbreaker complete on the Graves too as well.
Oh,
Gale Force in aggressively.
Oh!
And it looks like the Headbutt Pulverize did just barely miss there from the Alistar. It's going to toss the Vygar out to safety. Not only that, oh, and we're going to get another kill down there with the Caitlyn ult as well. And what was looking like a really... Hold that thought. I was going to say what was looking like a really, really nice lead for University of Southern California was going a little bit downhill, but then they managed to find that fight up there in response, managed to pick out the Vygar, so all in all, it's about even. However, again, with the turrets and the dragons going in the favor of University of Southern California, I feel like they'll take that trade.
Yeah, absolutely. Just finding the fight in the enemy jungle a little bit. Birds of Sand did kind of overstep into the Caitlyn, not really expecting Oshawott to have that much damage, and it does go down. But ultimately, the University of Southern California still has the lead, so they're afforded a few mistakes here and there as long as they don't make too many and don't completely throw their lead.
From here on out, I'm just going to say USC because it's way easier than accidentally shaming myself and saying University of Southern Carolina, you know?
Just landed.
Oh my gosh! I didn't even see that they were off of our screen and I wasn't paying attention to the minimap. They excellently came from behind to find a sneaky little kill there on the Karma, knowing that they have to play around this Vygar to pick up some of these kills. I think it's just smart map awareness. Turret plates being picked up here on the bot side. Again, on the Vygar, critically important to get that gold onto him specifically. And he should be sitting on quite a lot of extra gold right now too. He's been able to farm up for a little while. He also picked up that extra kill and got 2 turret plates there. Solo, all for himself. Really huge because that's who you want the gold going onto right now, is that Vygar.
Absolutely. Should be doing a lot of work in these later team fights with those cages and just with his raw damage. Last game we saw his ultimate by itself almost take out the enemy AD carry. Looking to see if we see something like that again this game, especially with how strong the Jhin is in this game. He is 4-0 with a 550 gold bounty, which would be huge for the Vygar to pick up.
And
or really anyone,
by the way. We did see him Gale Force flash in earlier when USC managed to find a bunch of it was like 3 or 4 kills, and so he's like fearless. He's like, I'm ahead, I'm gonna Gale Force in on you, not out. Like, what are you gonna do about it? I like that attitude. It really can help make plays, can make or break a game, certainly, but in that particular case it allowed them to get 2 kills.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a very exciting playstyle to watch, whether it works or not. Rift Herald is being taken in the top side.
I will say, however, the Jhin also has the cleanse available to him. Realistically speaking, even with the Leona on their team, I don't see him using that unless he's inside of the Veigar cage.
Yeah. Or
But I
if
really
the
do feel like that's a smart answer. So
absolutely. And of course, Jhin does run very fast, so we're expecting to see him dodge some of these skill shots, like the
a lot of
Leona
the
E, the
Leona
Leona ult.
for sure.
Yeah.
And if he gets just slowed by the Leona ult, at that point we would probably see the Gale Force come out. Because sure, you're going to get the extra slow from Glacial Augment, but what are you going to do about a dash like that? Gale Force is a pretty long-range dash, so we get him out safely pretty quickly. So I like that as well. Just feels like he's going to have a lot of ability to protect himself and do damage. Now sitting on 2 items now as well, with the LDR completed and in his inventory, that's going to help him do a lot of extra damage to that Leona and a lot of extra damage to Jarvan, and even a lot of extra damage to that Sylas as well, who's going to have more health than he will.
Yeah, it looks like USC is kind of recognizing that Jhin is their carry at the moment. Actually giving him over the blue buff there. I don't know if it's because he needed a little bit more gold to finish that Lord Dominic's, but yeah, that's probably the reason. It's probably not because the Jhin is having mana problems. I would have to assume it was just for the gold, but he does have that Lord Dominic's finish now in time for this next fight that I would have to assume is going to break out very soon.
In University of Washington did find the Rift Herald, but it looks like it expired, unfortunately. So they did have to place it mid, and it's actually going to get its first charge off on that mid tower. I'm a little bit surprised by that. Because it was summoned all the way at the mid Indian tower. An excellent Poppy ult coming through right now. Full dragon control over. That is, they are now on soul point. With a critically important soul for them as well in that Ocean Soul. So just very excellently done. That Poppy ult really coming in handy for objective control.
Finding enough time to just take the drag before the Jarvan even has the chance to walk back towards the pit. He is going to run top lane now, trying to find a pick on the Graves, but there's nothing to be found. Graves has the whole breaker, just choosing to side lane, and it seems to be working. He did have a wave shoved into that tier 2 for quite a while during that fight. Both top laners sticking top instead of intending to join their teams for the dragon.
And if you look at the Sylas there, he doesn't even have a single item completed yet. Sure, he's sitting on, I recognize that he was there at least 40 CS ago, so chances are he probably does have his item now, but he's still sitting in lane. And the problem is that he has to respond to that Graves, because the Graves has that pushing potential from the Hullbreaker. So he hasn't really had the opportunity to go back and make that purchase just yet. Because if he does, then the Graves is for sure going to get probably half of that health on that inner tower if he doesn't properly clear the wave or expend teleport solely for that reason, which he also wants to avoid at all costs, because he will probably want to have that up for the last dragon fight that we'll see here in about 4 minutes.
Yeah, and one of the reasons I really liked the Sylas pick was because of the Alistar ult, or being able to take the Alistar ult. But I'm not even sure if he's seen the Alistar this game. Oh, but
and
Jarvan instantly has.
Not a whole lot you can do about that. 2 kills going the way of USC. And Baron is not spawning for another 55 seconds. Otherwise, I would say that that is a Baron. So, tower shot taken by Jhin there. But it looks like he's channeling ult right now. But the Caitlyn flashes forward. I know I'm casting for something that's not even happening on the screen. Caitlyn flashes forward through the Jhin ult and use Gale Force just so that she can get outside of the Jhin ult and behind the Jhin to kill the Jhin. I watched it all on the minimap. I know exactly what happened, I swear.
Probably a smart decision. Not really too much to say about what happened top lane. Not really much Yonha can do there. Does take the Alistar ult trying to survive, but it's not enough. He just kind of got 3v1 there. Not really much he can do. Can't really dodge out from the Alistar combo either without flash. So yeah, he just kind of goes down. I think it was a great idea for you to be casting that Jhin and Caitlyn 1v1, which might have been a lot more interesting.
If I'm minimap casting, then on screen is boring. Nothing's happening. So not to discredit the Alistar, that well played, but I had more fun watching that flash happen in the AD carry 1v1. Like I'm sure that was sick, and that you both very thoroughly enjoyed that fight right there.
Oh man. Yeah. Well.
But also important to note that with that kill, the 550 gold bounty that was on the Jhin went to the 80 carry of the opposite side in the form of that Caitlyn. So now the Caitlyn has quite a bit of extra damage potential as compared to before. The death cap also coming out for the Vigar. I'd say it doesn't matter that they're 6,000 gold behind right now. They both got really, really powerful item spikes for them. And I feel like a lot of the times you'll see the Sylas and the Graves in the side lane and not part of the fight. That's kind of the idea behind the Hull Breaker as far as I understand it. And so at that point, when a lot of that gold discrepancy is between the Sylas and the Graves, and you have a lot of that extra gold, like Phantom Gold from the Vigar in the form of his passive and in the form of the Death Cap extra, I feel like all in all, even with that, it looks like it's about 5,500 gold discrepancy right now. It's about even. I'd say it's about an even game.
I think especially because the Graves hasn't really been a part of these fights, and there is probably a lot of gold on him, but the Jhin ultimate is not gonna find any kills, is gonna just whittle them down a little bit, but no kills to be had. UW's gonna back out, just kind of reset and get back into this neutral position in the mid lane.
And Alistar caught out here for sure. That's a lot of damage taken on the Alistar. The ult comes through. It's barely going to be able to get out alive. And just as I said that, we have the ult forward on the Jarvan with the flash. He's going to be able to clean up that kill. The Sylas going forward has stopwatch, which is critically important. Trapping Poppy in the cage. A lot of damage coming down. However, the Graves is also just stomping through them, running through them, completely unanswered, getting all of this damage down. That is going to be another kill. The Jarvan is just barely going to make it out. There was a little bit of burn on him, but he's going to get out alive. However, the Ocean Soul is going to go over the way of USC, which is really going to put University of Washington in a tough spot here in Game 2.
And there we saw both the caves dropped and the Poppy W come up, and there's just no way for you to really like what do you do there? You can't really dash because of the Poppy W. You can't really walk in or out because of the big arcade. Just rough spot. Not really much you can do there.
Personally, I think that it may have been a little bit of a greed on the part of University of Washington for that Alistar. After you've blown the Alistar flash and the Alistar ult, without having to expend anything, by the way. I think they only used the Leona ult and the Vigar Caves. I think that's all they used there. After you have that, and you see him flash away and use ult, USC can no longer contest that dragon. That Alistar is a very important part of their comp and of their engage. And so when you put Alistar out of the picture, you have now created for yourself a 5v4 around a dragon fight that would otherwise result in the enemy team getting sold. And so I feel like that was a little bit of a misplay on the part of University of Washington, choosing to chase, to flash forward and ult the Alistar just for the kill when he would have had to reset regardless, which in turn created a 4v4 instead of what could have been a 5v4 for the fight, with the jungler down on the side of University of Washington, since the Jarvan did jump too far forward.
Absolutely, that's a great point actually. And like you said, that does confirm the Ocean Drag.
What is this sparkly little circle around the Poppy right now? Do you know? Are you seeing that?
Not sure.
I'm seeing a circle of like sparkly dots, like rotating around the Poppy. I wonder if it's the skin. It's probably the skin.
Probably the skin. Meanwhile, there's just a fight being out in front of us.
No, I'm like there's this whole fight going on, and I'm confused, but about what the shiny rotating circle around the Poppy is. Yeah, I think I figured it out. It's probably the animation for her passive game, would be my guess. So.
And maybe the Yuda squad was also stuck, fascinated with the Poppy.
Yeah, no, maybe they were
they just can't really do anything with that.
They were just. It looked to me like they just right-clicked down towards the mid tower and then just took their hands off their mouse, you know? Anyway, moving on. So that's probably the Poppy passive. We see here the Sylas going in on the Graves. I don't think that he's really going to get anything out of that. Graves trying to go for the red buff steal, but with the Leona showing up, he's going to have to use the blast gun to get out of there.
Yep, the bodyguard Leona making sure no Graves is stealing their red buff.
So I have a question. Why is there an item cooldown timer on Vigar's Death Gap there in the toolbar?
That's a good question. I'm guessing it's because he bought it while his Everfrost was on
Everfrost
cooldown.
was on cooldown? That
Yeah,
makes sense.
most likely. It just moved the placement of the items, resulting in that slight visual bug.
It's bothering me just as much as the shiny circle around the poppies, which I have just confirmed is not passive being updated. It's still there. Jarvan getting chunked down as he goes in. The Silas with the Alistar ult, as you see here. He's living so long in there. The stopwatch coming through as well. He's going to get one more W off to be tanky. A lot of tankiness being provided for there by the Silas with the Alistar ult. We saw the strength of it there, even fighting at this deficit. Managing to find a 1-for-1 and taking down the enemy jungler. Really huge there, I feel like.
Yeah, the Silas just becoming unkillable with just by clicking R, just creating so much time, and of course with the lifesteal from the W and the stopwatch just stalls for long enough to trade 1-for-1.
But come across all 8 wonders of League today. You know, the Death Gap on cooldown, the Poppy circle rotating around her unknowingly. Alistar going in there, lots of tankiness, healing up, not taking a whole lot of damage. The stopwatch coming through, the kill down on Leona. Jhin, Gale forcing forward for the extra kill on the Caitlyn. Does not have ult up, is going to have flash up here in just a second if he chose to go for another kill, but he did not. Instead, he was going for the safe play. We've got Baron empowered cannon minions pushing into the towers here. Silas goes in, has the Graves ult, doesn't even get to use it as the 1100 damage crit comes off from the Graves there. And I have a feeling that they're probably going to use this advantage to end the game here. With flash coming through, Jhin using cleanse to get out of the cage there, just as I mentioned earlier. Jarvan pretty low, Jhin taking 3 or 4 tower shots there, but still feeling pretty healthy. Are you seeing that sparkling circle around the Poppy?
I am actually. I think I do know what you're talking about now.
Yeah, like, I'm curious, what is that?
Yeah, is that gargoyle range? I don't know, I have no idea.
I'm gonna do a little bit of after we're done here, because I'm curious. I'm legitimately curious.
Yeah, very
anyway.
perplexing.
Yeah, so that game, I feel like was maybe not as dependent on that Vigar pick. Most certainly. We saw that the Jhin got all those early kills off of the Poppy, just having really excellent awareness. I think that was really huge in deciding the game. Just Poppy's awareness to go for that level 1 gank, getting that Leona flash, getting them the kill onto the Jhin as well. Just very well played by USC, understanding that they needed the early bot prio. Then they needed to call their jungler. The jungler skipped 2 camps and was still ahead after ganking bot. Was even bigger for them. And then they were able to press that advantage and press that advantage. Seeing the first tower in the bot lane, Jhin was, I believe, 4-0 when they got that first tower as well. And using that pressure to also obtain the dragons. 0 dragons for the side of University of Washington. None of them were really even close either. So just very excellently done in finding bot lane pressure, pushing bot lane pressure, and continuing to use that bot lane pressure.
Yeah, and it almost makes you seem like a prophet with you calling at the start of the game the importance of that level 2 for the bot lane, like specifically with who hits level 2 first, and we did see that really play a very big role, like you said, in the game. Very well played game from the Poppy there, honestly, just denying so much of the engage from the side of UW, making good proactive plays in their early game, and yeah, just honestly, some fantastic ults coming out of the Poppy too. Just very well played. It should.
And with that, I believe we are ready to head into the 3rd game here. With the game series tied up 1-1, we'll see who can find the advantage on this one.
Yeah, big old game 3.
I want to instantly, once again, turn our attention to the mid lane matchup we have here in the Lissandra versus the Corki. The Corki running first strike. This is really strong right now, and there are a lot of build variations as well. It'd be really interesting to see what he goes for. Obviously, he's going to go for that Manamune first, since he did start with tier. That would make the most sense. The Lissandra as well. providing a lot of utility, a lot of CC. With Comet is going to have quite a bit of poke to answer the Corki in lane. And again, just that point and click ult can really mean a lot in fighting up against the Viego and the Jace specifically when they go in, or for protecting herself. So a lot of interesting things being shown here in the mid lane matchup for sure. I like the Corki pick a lot personally. I think it's incredibly strong right now. We'll see what Pasco can do with it this game. See if he can play like his Vigar in game 1, and even in game 2, honestly, the Vigar was still pretty well played. So
Absolutely. And on the other side, we do see the Caitlyn Lux combo, which is fairly notorious for its laning ability. Should be interesting to see how that is piloted. Last game we saw a lot of priority on the spot lane and them getting ahead. That might be a little bit easier, honestly, with the Caitlyn and the Lux, and even the early game power from the Jarvan if he does decide to turn his attention to the bot lane, which I can't imagine is what he is planning since he is starting topside. Might choose to clear down towards the bot lane, and they're looking for an early cheese.
Yeah, no, this is really huge because not only did they have that early control, they did not leash, so they knew that they could go into that brush. All of a sudden, you see Karma's, almost half of Karma's health is gone already with just that one early cheese. Lux getting a lot of poke off here. Spell Thief's also giving her a little bit of extra gold there as well. Just altogether, a really good start. Even the Caitlyn starting with the longsword and understanding like, hey, I can get that 10 extra attack damage, which is really only 2 extra attack damage compared to Dorn's Blade, but still, 2 extra attack damage makes a difference. I mean, I'm sure you've seen somebody live with 1 health before.
Yeah, every AD counts. Yeah, and also having the fleet footwork just for the sustain and getting the 3 pots, which is kind of nice, even though the Dorn Blade does also offer sustain in its own right. It is always nice to have those 3 pots available to you. We're seeing the Jarvan working his way. Oh, finding lands.
Or the root coming down on the Karma, Knight ticking her down. She's living with barely any health. Flash forward is not going to be in range. And this could even be a double kill. Okay, excellently dodged out on by Inferno. The Jinx flash forward and cleanse does not give movement speed.
That is not a heal, unfortunately.
Yes.
No movement speed to be gained.
You're correct. Unfortunately, that is not a heal. Although, cleanse only gives movement speed if you're cleansing CC, if I remember correctly. Oh, and then the Jarvan taking perfect time down here. However, the Karma shields are also taking that down. Jarvan is able to flash out. Jinx having no flash. Abilities up. It'll be interesting to see if he goes back in. I was just about to ask you, or I was just about to mention that he might go in. The minions should be able to kill the Jinx there, so that's going to be a 1-for-1. Ultimately, I like that for the Caitlyn Lux combo, because now you have nobody in the lane right there, which means that they are for sure going to get at least 1 turret plate. And the idea behind the Caitlyn Lux combo is that you want to be pushed in as much as possible. So now they have that push on the wave there, it may bounce back now that the wave is being killed under the tower, but just being able to get under the tower in the first place is the very first step to being able to truly abuse that Caitlyn Lux combo and keep the opponents nailed under their turret, keep harassing them under their turret.
Yeah. One bright spot for the Yudo bot lane is, of course, the 2 kills that the Jinx was able to pick up, has the new quiver, and they're looking for Caitlyn now.
And that root is going to land on the Caitlyn. I like saving the empowered W there for the root. Caitlyn almost gets the return kill on the Jinx, but is not quite able to pick it up. And I'd like to point out that we are 4.5 minutes into the game, and that is a 3-1 Jinx. That is terrifying. You never like to see that in solo.
Absolutely. Just monsters are ready in this early game, picking up 3 early kills.
And once again, we see a lot of that action coming through on that bot side of the map. And I may have missed it. Okay, Jarvan did not pick a kill somewhere else. Both of them were bot lane. I was like, I thought that there was only 1 death on the side of University of Washington. But I guess there were, in fact, 2, and I just missed the second one. They're going to use that bot lane pressure again.
Oh, stolen!
The dragon is stolen from over the wall by the Jarvan. The root coming down on 3 people from Bird of Sand here. And wow, that was an excellent cleanup. Not only did they steal the dragon, but they managed to find 3 kills on the opposite side of the fight. Lysandra hitting level 6 before the Corki did, was able to get that flash Flash Claw into a 3-man root, which was really able to let that Lux follow up with the E, Caitlyn follow up with the Q, all that like 3-target damage coming through from the part of USC just helped them really get a lot of extra damage down in that fight. And so they got the dragon on top of it as well. So overall, a really huge fight for them.
Absolutely, and with the long range engage from the Lissandra, that's something we're gonna be seeing a lot of this game, I'm expecting, especially alongside the engage from the Jarvan and the Wukong. Should be seeing a lot of dashing in and getting those CCs onto the enemy team.
A Cole purchased a little bit late here for the Corki in mid lane. It's an interesting buy, but I feel like if they're confident the game will go on long enough, it's okay. Teleport coming in through here to mid lane. And it looks like Bird of Sand may be a little bit mispositioned here. I don't think that he'll be able to be saved. He may have Claw cooldown in time. He does not. That is going to be a kill going over to the Corki. It looks like they did kill the Jinx again, so Jinx now sitting at 3-3 instead of 3-1. Now that's a lot nicer to see than 3-1.
Absolutely, big change. Just after just what it was about 3 minutes, I believe. Just dying.
It was at 4.5 minutes that the Jinx was 3-1, and now we are at 7 minutes in, 2.5 minutes later, and she's died twice. A lot of action here, and once again, we're seeing all of it happening on the bot side of the map. Even teleports coming through to stop tower dives, but unfortunately coming through just a teensy bit late. And then on the top side of the map, we have, 10 CS difference. Realistically, it's about 13 or 14 though, because we have a few extra blue minions there than we do have red minions there. Jace now purchased a late tier, but should start stacking that back up. Nothing really exciting happening up here. There hasn't been a lot to watch top side.
Yeah, bot lane has been the area of interest for honestly most of these games, really.
In fact, has the directed camera even panned top like a single time yet? We haven't seen the Jace on camera yet. Come on, we did just see him a little short while ago, but that may have legitimately been the first time that we saw him on camera all game. So.
Speaking of bot lane attention, we see Mimage camping this bush. Not sure if he's going to be able to find anything. He is channeling that recall now. And yeah.
I feel like we did see that both the Lissandra and the Jarvan were up in the red side jungle of University of Washington. So when that's the case, the bot side for USC knows that they have to play a little bit further back because something could potentially happen. Knowing that their jungler is topside and would not be able to respond to that gank, I think it was very smart of them to play back there and understand the situation that they were in and understand, hey, there might be a Viego down here, and if there is, then we don't have that Jarvan to respond. We don't have that Lissandra to respond. So let's play back and play it safe. So I just feel like really smart play from them.
Absolutely.
Oh, coming down.
Some top action, and we're gone. Back to mid lane we go.
Exactly. And unfortunately, here's another play. Ult down onto the Corki, flashes out of the Jarvan ult, which is going to save his life there. Jarvan ult down, Lissandra ult down, Wukong ult down, Corki flash down. That's the result of that chain of events.
Yeah.
We also saw that in that other interaction between the Wukong and the Jace. The Jace's knockback does have a higher priority than the Wukong ult. So that was really huge for them. We got a fight going down here in the bot lane. Lux throws down the E just for the slow. They have to walk around it. However, the Viego is behind them. I'd imagine that this is going to be a kill for sure. The exhaust coming down on the Viego. Flash is coming out from both bot laners there. The Lux root is not going to land because the Viego was in the process of collecting that Caitlyn. Auto coming down from Caitlyn as well. Or the Viego Caitlyn, I should say. Going to pick up a second kill there. Excellently done. Great timing.
Yeah, and just more attention being given to the bot lane, and it seems to be working is the biggest thing. It's not like we're just seeing ganks being thrown bot lane and nothing happening. We're seeing kills happening. We're seeing kills happening around the drag, and now Corki has the package, and the dragon is up, so we can expect even more action down there. After this trade to the top lane.
There. This is going to even out the dragon count, which is really huge. Comparatively, last game, we saw University of Washington was unable to pick up a single one due to the bot pressure that they had. This Rift Herald probably won't get a crash here, but we do have... Oh yeah, the packages definitely slow that down enough. And actually, I don't know if they're going to get the eyeball. The Driver Roll coming down on top of the Viego. Yeah, the Viego's having to flash out of that one. Honestly speaking, I don't think that he had to flash out of that one. I think he could have made that a longer fight and he would have been alright. Caitlyn coming through. That is going to be enough to secure the kill onto the Corki.
Yeah. Perhaps Mimich saw the Lissandra eating over and was possibly afraid of maybe like a flash root or even like a flash ult. Just decided to preemptively flash.
Yeah, that's a good
just
call.
to be
That's a
safe.
good call. And again,
But
despite all this pressure that University of Washington is placing down bot side, they managed to kill the Corki down there. They managed to kill the Jinx again down there. The 3-1 Jinx is now 3-4 Jinx. And they're going to get this first tower down here. So even with all that pressure that the University of Washington found earlier on that bot side, ult coming down onto the Jace here. Jace goes back in. Looked like he was going to be able to pick the kill up on Lissandra, but then the Wukong walked up and unfortunately ushered him backwards, said, no, this is my teammate, get out of here. And Jace walks back, unable to pick up that kill.
yeah.
And altogether, USC really finding an answer from a little bit behind there. I feel like University of Washington had a lot of bot pressure earlier on in the 3-1 Jinx. And then unfortunately, they just lost it. Like, the Viego did a really good job of making multiple plays down there. But then you had the Lissandra adding a little bit of extra support and really making the difference between getting kills out of bot lane and getting control in bot lane. There's a little bit of a difference between the two.
Yeah. And the Corki package has been nerfed so that his first package is a bit later. We saw his first package just recently. There's a fight happening out top lane. Just on Jarvan.
Viego is here for that. And
oh, blocked it!
Viego got in the way of the Caitlyn ult. That was very excellently done. He's going to have the Jarvan flag and drag as a gap closure, but unfortunately does get caught in the double root. And I'd imagine that we do have a Corki on the way, but Karma's probably also dead. The tier 2 Wukong ult coming through. Wukong flashing out after getting that knock-up in. Again, 2 kills coming through. What initially looked really good for University of Washington is just completely turned around by USC. Just excellently done.
Yeah, Mimich using that stolen flag and drag straight into his death. And the flag forward from Lissandra.
And that was only the root. Still has the ult up even after the cleanse was used. And that's going to be another solo kill there for Bird of Sand. Quite a few of them on this series in general. That's probably his 5th or 6th, I'd say. Lux ult coming down on the Viego with the full combo doing about 75% of the Viego's health there. And that's without a Mythic. If Lux gets a Ludens on her, then that could be lethal for the Viego right now, which is really concerning from the side of University of Washington when you realize that the support is one-shotting. Jarvan ult coming down on a 3 on top of the Lux D. Layer, extra damage there. Jarvan is going to get out of that alive after flashing out of his ult, and we're just seeing USC pressing the advantage further and further here. This Jace is most certainly dead as well with that root landing. Another kill going on the Caitlyn. Lux now 3, 1, and 9 assists there on that Lux is really huge. And also important to note that there's a 9-stack Dark Seal on the Lux too. So if you complete the Mythic here, if you go for a Ludens and get extra magic penetration there with the boost completed and a 9-stack Dark Seal, I legitimately think you can probably one-shot the Corki or the Viego or the Jinx, maybe not the Karma because of the shielding. I think you can one-shot any of them with your full combo.
We talked about the power of this Caitlyn Lux, and at the beginning it didn't quite look like it was working out with the 3-1 Jinx, but USC being able to turn it around, and now the Caitlyn is ahead. Now, like you said, the Lux is just so far ahead. It's definitely very threatening.
Now, I do like the fact that Lux did go for the Ludens here. I'm a huge fan of Ludens. Personally, I created another account last season just to play Lux support. And I was that one guy who would take as many kills as I wanted. You know that, the low elo friendly support.
Kill security.
I like the Ludens for the full one-shot potential. I mean, as long as you're getting vision down, you're doing your job.
Oh.
And here we go. We'll see it right here.
Oh.
And layered with the Caitlyn ult, that is a one-shot onto the Jinx. 3-1 Jinx is now a 3-6 Jinx. That's not what you want to see in solo queue. I know I said that earlier about the 3-1 Jinx, but it's even worse when 3-1 Jinx becomes a 3-6 Jinx. We've got objective bounties up now, too, for the side of the University of Washington. I don't believe we got those this early in the game last game, which is maybe a little bit concerning. The Wukong ult excellently knocking up the Jace in the middle of his dash. Jace is going to be low enough for 1 Q to finish the job for the Wukong. Wukong picking up a solo kill there onto the Jace.
Just bops him on the head there. Corki is in enemy territory in the moment, and there are 3 members of USC running up. Might just be able to recall. I'm not sure if that's quite.
He doesn't have vision on them either, I don't think. So one little misstep could result in him being in this position. He did get the package onto the Caitlyn and is able to get the kill off on the Caitlyn as well as the shutdown. 400 extra gold going on in that Corki. That is very huge for them. The Jarvan coming down on the Jinx. However, the Jinx is not going to have enough damage. The 3-1 Jinx is now a 3-7 Jinx.
This kind of feels like a caster curse, doesn't it? We're
I know.
So much about how terrifying the 3-1
You know, I would call it a caster curse if this was live.
You're right. It can't be our fault.
That's my defense. That's my defense. That is my defense. Otherwise, I would be apologizing profusely right now, and I would be getting ready to I don't know what else can I do to apologize. But anyway, moving on.
A lot of things to think about, but at least we can go to sleep with a clear conscience, knowing that this is not our fault.
I can go to sleep with a clear conscience, knowing that this was not my solo queue game.
Absolutely, but the game isn't. Well, the game is over.
It's not over. No, there's actually less of a gold discrepancy in this game than there was in the previous game. Though there might be a lot more map control on the side of USC, the gold discrepancy is actually less. So, on that note, it's still winnable. The Corki is now sitting on 2-1, just got the second item completed. The Cole just finished. That's going to be able to sell that for another 180 gold on top of what it already gave him. That's going to be more components for the Corki. The Corki is going to be a lot of your damage. So I feel like it's still doable. We did see the Corki very nearly one-shot Caitlyn, as a matter of fact. So it'll be interesting to see where this game goes. USC definitely with a very clear advantage. However, it's not a definitive advantage just yet. Sandra pushing over the wall. A lot of burst coming down on Sandra initially. Wukong is able to get on top of the Jace, but is in enemy territory. Flashes away. However, the Blade of the Rune King passive did proc first, which means that the movement speed is going to go over to the Viego, and he's going to be able to chase him down with him also taking tower aggro. In the end, it's going to be a 1-for-1. And the Lysandra Flash and the Wukong Flash were both expended. Though I guess on the side of University of Washington, the Karma Flash and the Jace Flash were also both expended. Ultimately, it's like a very, very ever so slight advantage for University of Washington there in that trade, but very minute.
USC does end up getting the tier 2 on the back of that play as well. Corki trying to TP out. It doesn't get cancelled. He makes it out.
Yeah, he made that out. I'm a little bit surprised there. With the Lux ult coming in too, and then the Jarvan, it looked like maybe if there was a flag and drag, it was just a little bit short.
Yeah.
He may have done it blindly too, as well. So, because I can't think of any other reason why you would put a pink ward in that bush there. So, at this point in the game, that is.
Not quite enough damage. Vasco makes it out with the famous TP escape, but he no longer has that available. No dragging up anytime soon.
Yeah.
So he's going to be heading up to the top lane without TP, sticking around the Baron side of the map, which I think is a smart decision. Meanwhile, the Jace with TP is the one who's going to be answering the Wukong bot lane.
And the other thing that's important to know, that if University of Washington can find a lane to take this dragon fight, they're also going to get the 500 gold bounty off of it as well. So that's 100 gold to each member on their team. That can also be very important for them, because not only are you getting the dragon and the stats from the dragon, but you're also getting 100 extra gold on every member of your team. And if you get the dragon, you probably also fight, hopefully. And so that would generally speaking, mean good things for them if they can manage to find this dragon. However, at the moment, we see the Lux going through, placing 2 wards, and there's 2 pinks in there as well. Just total control. Like 10-stack Dark Seal, now sitting on an extra Fiendish Codex. 3-1 and 10 on the Lux.
The bottom side red jungle is absolutely lit up with blue wards.
There's no way that they can test this dragon. There's just too much vision. And I will say for a fact, I mentioned earlier that I created a solo queue account just to play Lux support on. You do not want to be walking into no vision against that Lux. It's so easy to ward with the Lux because you can throw out that E for vision and make sure it's safe to step up and place a ward down. And at this point, when you have that 10-stack Dark Seal, the Magic Pen from Ludens, the boots completed, and an extra Fiendish Codex, if you walk into that, you're dead. There's not a whole lot you can do there. So, again, just really, really strong. Very well done by Inferno to make sure to set up that vision early, to make sure that you are first to... Oh my gosh, that is a very near one-shot by Pasco onto Lysandra. Not quite going to get the kill, because Lysandra used the ult on herself. And it looked like Corki had some vision there on 3 members approaching. Flag and Dragon is going to connect on Mimich. I was about to say a lot of Vamp coming down from Mimich, but then he got stuck in the Jarvan ult with the Lux ult on top. Lux ult now dealing a lot of damage with all that Magic Pen. That's going to be Jungler down for University of Washington. Corki, no teleport, low health. I can see the intelligence behind calling a Baron here. Jinx in mid. Yeah, there's no contest here. They're going to be able to pick this one up without any hitch. However, mid lane tower going back to University of Washington. Looks like bot lane tower is probably also going to go back to University of Washington. All in all, the gold difference is going to be about even, with 1,500 coming with the Baron, as opposed to 2 towers plus objective bounties on both of those towers going to University of Washington. However, you still have Baron buff on the side of USC, which is also critically important. I also, USC also picked up the Dragon there too before that as well. So you can see that gold about even, pretty much no change. However, a lot of the map advantages still going the way of USD.
Yeah, and I'm just keeping my eyes on that inventory of the Lux, waiting to see if that 10-stack Dark Seal does get upgraded into the almighty Forbidden Book. Just waiting to see it. Unfortunately, has not been built yet.
Bought the
But
other
certainly
book
something to keep your eyes on.
which is a little bit disappointing.
Yeah, not quite the book we're looking for. But...
Isn't there one more book, or is it just those 2?
Morella Mollicon, I guess.
Morella's, you're right. Yeah, that's the 3rd book I was thinking of. Maybe we'll see a very book smart Lux here with 3 books. I mean, you got the Viego with a lot of lifesteal, so I mean it would be beneficial for fighting the Viego.
Good point. Fortunately, it's not the Academy Lux skin, so maybe it doesn't really need those books.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, maybe doesn't need all the book smarts. Still sitting on the Dark Seal. Has not backed yet though. We'll see. They're going to get a lot of gold out of this Baron push. I'm surprised that they don't have anybody top. They're sending Caitlyn over there now.
Oh my
huge rocket over there onto the Lux. 42 extra gold going to the Corki for first strike. Ult not quite coming through. Lysandra self-ulting. There is a root down on the Jarvan. However, the stopwatch is able to save him. Successfully, the chase getting extra down. It's down on the Wukong. Wukong does not get out of there alive. A little bit of burn from somewhere was able to finish him off. All in all, I feel like that's pretty good for University of Washington. They wanted to find something. They did find something. They were able to repel the Baron push. Almost got the Lux. Almost got the Jarvan. Very well-timed stopwatch there on the part of the Jarvan. Really saving him there. The Lux not only able to get out, but also provide the shield utility, the slow utility, and the ult whiff. But still, you know, it could have been extra damage from long range. There's going to be a Horizon focus in now for the Lux, which again just really helps with those one-shots. I think at this point, definitely going to get a lot out of landing a Q for sure. We still don't see a Mejai's though. A little bit disappointed by that.
A little awkward. We see the Jarvan get cancelled by the wolves. Doesn't seem like he notices for a few seconds and then ends up just standing there.
I am a jungle main, and I will say that it is just about one of the absolute worst feelings that you can ever possibly have. Especially when it's your tank top laner walking by the camp and grabbing aggro with Immolate passive, and then walking by you while you're recalling. And then that stops your recall. Some of just the most oddly frustrating things to deal with.
Look at the
We got Dragon up here in less than a minute, too.
Wukong has a flank. Corki also has the package.
And this is important because Dragon is up now and USC is on soul point. We've got Caitlyn traps down here, but she's not in range to really punish.
Who's gonna pull the trigger first? Wukong is walking up.
Really interesting. I feel like the team that gets there first always has that advantage. However, it's also important to know that we do have that Wukong on the flank. They now spotted that flank out. And also, you have to remember that a properly timed Lux Q E ult does more damage than Smite. A lot more damage than Smite, as a matter of fact.
Oh.
So Wukong does get the flank down onto Pasco. Pasco is going to get popped by the Caitlyn ult, and the Corki's, oh wow, there's so much happening here. The Jace got popped as well. We saw the Wukong really use that flank to his advantage. The Karma's still being chased down here by the Caitlyn.
They're gonna get the dragon.
Is going to save. However, that is going to be Soul now over to USC. Mountain Soul providing that extra shield. And with 3 members dead, they're going to get at least an inhib tower here.
Yeah, great flank from the Wukong in that fight. We saw the Corki kind of get soloed out. He uses his packages towards the blue buff. The rest of his team ends up over the wall, so they can't really provide any assistance. And he just kind of dies. And now
nobody
at the
ends
end.
here. There's going to be no root down on the Caitlyn. The Viego gets popped after almost killing the Jarvan. Keyword almost. Cork is really going to have to make some plays here. Nexus is down below half health. A couple more auto attacks will do the trick. However, it is still high enough health. We'll see if Lissandra maybe has Flash or Claw and tries to get close enough. No, does not quite have the damage. A little bit greedy there from the part of USC, but I think that's justified greed. Now there's an open Nexus. It's below half health.
And that's extremely hard to play out of. Very hard situation to play out of, yeah. Just you have to be afraid every time you walk out of your base of a possible back door. It's just very scary stuff.
And we see them here placing a pink ward down right next to the Nexus there. I'm assuming that Viego pops the red trinket there just to make sure that there aren't any wards in the base. Checking to make sure that they aren't going to get any sneaky, cheeky teleports in from the Wukong or from the Lissandra or from both of them at the same time to get that back door in. There are, in fact, no wards there. We do know that, but they did not. And again, going to see a little bit of a reset here. We've got Jarvan now with a GA, so he can fearlessly dive in. We've got Lissandra with not only Zonia's, but an extra stopwatch. Caitlyn with a stopwatch as well, sitting at 10, 4, and 5, by the way. Silently picking up all these kills, though I feel like a lot of these kills that Caitlyn has picked up have been with her ult after somebody else did all the damage. Lux ult coming through. Caitlyn ult channeling on the Corki. It's going to hit the Jace instead. A lot of damage coming down. 3 items on the Jinx now, 2. 3 and 1 Jinx. That was then the 3 and 6 Jinx. That was then the 3 and 7 Jinx. That is now a 4 and 7 Jinx. Yay! An extra kill.
That's trending in the right direction.
It only took 25 minutes, and an extra Baron here is probably going to go the way of USC. We see if maybe a Corki rocket or a Jinx rocket. A lot of rockets can come out of nowhere to steal that. That is not going to be the case. Even Mivage was rooted, and it has to flash out of the Lux ult there. Resurrection coming through for the GA for the Jarvan. A lot of action there, and a bunch of extra kills. A lot of bursts there from the Lux between the Horizon Focus and an extra binding landing there. And that is going to be the game for sure. Looks like USC is going to take this series.
Yeah, just really well played there. I do think that Europe does have to walk up like they did there. Otherwise, if you're dealing with Baron empowered super minions with an open Nexus, that's pretty much a loss. So maybe trying to fight at the Baron was. I do think that fighting at the Baron was the right decision instead of just waiting for them to march into your base. But yeah, overall, not enough. Can't win the fight, and that is, yeah, that's it. They just lose the series.
Yeah, ultimately, I see that the first of all, I want to talk about the top lane picks there. We realized that they were just farming for a large majority of the early game and weren't really involved in a whole lot. The kill participations were both pretty low because of that. But the thing about the two of them is that in those later fights, the Wukong was always just able to provide more of that backline dive potential, more of that utility with his ultimate than the Jace was with his burst. So the ultimate from the Wukong just provided more for the team than the Jace's burst when they did finally get inputted into the picture. And because they weren't able to get any kind of benefits early on, they didn't really have any impact on the game itself, aside from what they could provide in the 5v5s later on. And Wukong finding those flanks, properly executing them, really huge, very well done by them.
Yeah,
Made
the
a
easiest
really
way to
big
put it
difference
is
in
just
the
a
game.
champ diff. It's just a champ diff.
And
Not
I
really
agree.
much.
The Caitlyn Lux we saw there, the Caitlyn ending, what was that, like 12, 4, and 6 or something like that? The Lux ending like 3, 1, and 15 or something like that. 3, 1, and 17. Something very close to that. Again, just the bot lane pressure. A lot of the game was played through the bot lane. Ultimately,
Yeah.
USC was able to play it just a little bit better, and they were able to use that Caitlyn Lux combo to successfully snowball the advantages that they were able to create early.
Yeah, I actually thought it was really well played by USC to deal with the early kills that the Jinx was able to pick up. Instead of like shying away from the how much power the Jinx had, they just saw it as an opportunity to continue going bot and try to just. They just stuck to their plan. Like they didn't get scared off by any failures that happened early game. They just stuck to their guns, and it worked out for them. They really turned that lane around, and we saw how much that Lux was able to provide, and even how much damage the Caitlyn was able to output. So definitely worked out in their favor, and yeah, just a really well played game by USC.
And with that, I'd like to congratulate USC. Thank you, everybody who's here. Thank you so much for joining us on our University of Washington Twitch channel tonight and spending time with our production crew, players, and talent. Remember to check us out at U of W Esports on most platforms, Twitter and YouTube, or UW Esports. And join the Discord if you are interested in volunteering behind the scenes. It's a lot of fun, I'll tell you that much. Additionally, we are happy to announce that the UW Broadcast Center in the RSO Resource Center is now taking reservations. If you want to get started producing content for an RSO or a UW student but don't have all the technology available to you, this may be the perfect opportunity for you. Go check it out in the hub. Have a great night, everybody.
It began with 3 pillars, the foundation for UW Esports, pushing ourselves to greater heights.
Community.
Career. Competition.
Oh yeah. Reminds me of Toronto Defiant Yakpung. Reminiscent of that, of just juggling everyone into the corner there.
Maybe that'll be the game changer here for UW.
Maybe, oh my goodness, what an angle by Wizard!
Wow.